Man was shoved in front of a train in New York City. Take a look. Let's keep it rocking.
Now to that other breaking news we're following tonight. A man is dead after being shoved in front of a subway train in East Harlem. Another man is in custody, accused of pushing the victim. And police tonight are saying this was an unprovoked attack. Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Carlo has the breaking details.
Well, crime scene investigators are still on hand. This subway rider was pronounced dead at this station, one that so many people use to get from point A to point B. He lost his life because of it. EMS workers rushed into the 125th Street station. Strategic response officers steered clueless strap hangers away from a tragedy, one that could sadly happen to any unsuspecting subway rider.
I gotta be careful. Anybody could get pushed, and somebody got pushed tonight.
But I take this line, and it's just tragic because, you know, that's somebody's life.
Not a basket stretcher nor any emergency medical tool could do anything to save the life of the man in his 40s who police say was shoved onto the train tracks in an unprovoked attack.
You know, you want to be able to trust your fellow citizens, but it's tough.
Anton Daniels uses this station all the time. The flashing police lights, waiting ambulances, and pieces of police tape blocking the platform to the 4, 5, and 6 lines all got his attention.
How do you stop like one person from making like an act, right? Like that's really difficult, like in a huge transit system like this.
The NYPD has certainly been trying by surging officers into the system to make New Yorkers feel safe. But when it comes to this heavily trafficked station at 125th Street in Lexington, Mela says there's a glaring need.
They should enhance more like those drug programs, rehabilitation, stuff like that. Mental health awareness really needs to be more emphasized.
When a life was taken tonight, just before 7 o'clock, all seemed to come to a halt, except for the police, who jumped into action and took into custody the suspect, a 45-year-old man accused of pushing that subway rider into an incoming northbound 4 train. Other riders tonight feel the pain.
It just sounds like a tragedy, and I'm really sorry for the person.
What the heck is going on over in New York? That's what I'm trying to understand. What is happening over in New York? How did the subway system in New York become so evil? That is something that you see in a movie. You know what I'm saying? You like, that's a plot. Ain't no mental health, ain't none of that junk that you're going to do that's going to be able to change that. It take one person out of 8.5 million people that catch the subway or is in New York City every single day to go down there and be able to push somebody onto an oncoming train on a subway. That's crazy. That is crazy. I don't know how New York descended so far into chaos, destruction, and evil, but good God, you can't even catch public transportation without people throwing you on the subway no more? They pushing you on the subway. Also in New York, a New York police officer was shot and killed for a random stop today. And the entire police force is mourning, and this happens more often than you think. Ladies and gentlemen, check it out.
First tonight, more breaking news, this time in Queens.
A New York City cop shot and killed during a traffic stop in Far Rockaway. A visibly shaken Mayor Adams delivering the news.
We lost one of our sons today.
Other cops returning fire tonight, hitting one of the suspects.
We have 2 reports. Lucy Yang on the scene with what eyewitnesses saw and heard, and Jim Dolan at Jamaica Hospital, where so many of that officer's brothers and sisters in blue are still gathered tonight. Jim?
Sandra, this should have been just a routine traffic stop. A car illegally parked in a bus stop in Far Rockaway. But as officers approached that car, one of the passengers in it pulled a gun and shot one of the officers just below his protective vest. Jonathan Diller was a father and a husband, and he was a cop who protected this city until his final breath. Jonathan Diller was a cop for just 3 years, protecting the city he loved and standing tonight in the breach.
It is the good guys against the bad guys. And these bad guys are violent. They carry guns. and the symbol of our public safety, which is that police uniform, they have a total disregard for.
Police officers from the NYPD's community response team embraced tonight. Grim, mournful support after losing one of their own. Shattered glass on the streets of Far Rockaway, where an officer and his partner were stopping a car there tonight when the passenger in the front seat pulled a gun.
He was asked to leave the car. He was given a lawful order numerous times to step out of the car. He refused. And when the officer took him out of the car, instead of stepping out of the car, he shot our officer.
The officer's partner returned fire, hitting the gunman, but they still scuffled as the gunman dropped his weapon.
The gun hit the ground, and as the perpetrator was still reaching for it, this cop was able to grab it, although he was still shot.
We should not be here right now. We should never be here praying for the life of an NYPD officer. But we are, and this is why.
Jonathan Diller leaves behind a wife and a child and both his parents and a city that mourns with them tonight.
Y'all do realize that these are regular, everyday people that's trying to serve their community. And that every single day that these people go out and about to be able to do their job, they have no idea whether or not they're going to return home every day. And we have a complete disregard as a society for human life. He had a wife and kids. And somebody just completely 100% unprovoked. No, this is not somebody putting their knee on somebody's neck. No, this is not somebody that is racially profiling. This is a regular, everyday person that was on the police force for 3 years. 3 years. Went to work, did a regular traffic stop, and got killed. Now he has a widow and a child that is going to be raised without his original father. When y'all interact with these people on a regular basis, you know, I was talking to a cop that's in my building. He stays in my building, and he walked up to me. He said, "What's going on, Anton?" And we shook hands, and he was like, "Oh, man, I didn't even realize that I was going to run into you. I knew you lived here, but I didn't know I was going to run into you." And he was working on his laptop as I was waiting on my car to get pulled up before I came into the office yesterday. And we talked and we chatted, and he was really, really cool. And I just told him, I said, "Man, I appreciate you, bro. I genuinely appreciate you," because, you know, he had his regular firearm, and he just had his, you know, Detroit Police Department t-shirt on. He was getting ready to go to work, and, you know, I was talking to him, and he was a younger guy. And, you know, these are the people. These are regular, everyday people. They put on their pants one leg at a time. They got families. They got children. They got dreams, aspirations. They want to be better people. These are regular, everyday people. And it's not just police officers. It's military people, firefighters, linemen, oil rig workers. Every day that you run into somebody, you do realize that this is a person that was raised, went to school, you know, got dreams, aspirations, is going to work every single day, and is just trying to make it home to their family every day. And we label them, or we frame them off of their job title and their position a lot of times. We go into these businesses and we look at them as something that's something different. And when I talk to a waiter, or when I talk to somebody that is serving my food, I have the utmost respect and regard for them. I don't look at them as less than. I don't look at them as, "Oh, you better get my stuff hot," or any of this stuff. I look at this as a person that got up, maybe didn't even want to go to work in the morning, got to make sure that they take care of their family, doing what they got to do in order to pay their student loans. And that's a regular, everyday person, in the same way that I'm a regular, everyday person. And so I always say, "Thank you, please, I appreciate you. Awesome job. Here, what is it that I can do to show you that yo, you are loved also. And so these are the type of interactions. And this is why I like going outside every day. And I like catching public transportation. And I like kicking it with people. And I like shaking hands. And I do meetups in person and stuff. Because these are human beings with a soul and feelings. And people will throw you onto the oncoming train, subway, don't even know you, kidnap you, sell you off, human trafficking, shoot a police officer. Oh man, that's the ops. How did he become the ops? And this is just a regular everyday guy that's trying to make sure that his community is safe. We got to do better. Well, anyways, in better news, you guys know and is familiar with the fact that Houston is going broke. The entire state of California is operating at a deficit. Chicago is operating at a massive deficit. Dalton, we already know what's going on over there. New York, cutting services, sanitation services, fire department, police officers won't hire anymore. Education, billions being cut off of the budget in order to make sure that they solve for the migrant crisis. We see what's happening in Atlanta. Obviously, I already mentioned that Houston is going broke, but Detroit is being celebrated nationwide for their credit upgrade and rating and rising out of the ashes within 10 years of filing for bankruptcy. You got to check this one out. This is a feel-good story, guys.
It's a financial comeback a decade in the making. Detroit's credit rating is now back to what it was before the city went broke and couldn't pay its bills.
Very major change, big victory for Mayor Mike Duggan and his cabinet. CBS News Detroit's Andres Gutierrez brings us the details from Detroit Public Safety Headquarters.
As part of the celebration, the mayor handed out these bottles of black ink as a gift because long gone are the days of swimming in red ink. Over the last 10 years, the city of Detroit has consistently kept a balanced budget and been smart with their money, so they're getting rewarded with not just one, but 2 bumps in their credit rating.
Don't say I never gave you anything.
These are the men and women on Mayor Mike Duggan's team who've practiced financial discipline that has taken the city of Detroit from almost the bottom of the credit ratings chart to this level. A first in 15 years.
When the emergency manager left in 2014, there are a lot of dire predictions. Detroiters can't be trusted with self-determination, can't run their own finances. What's going to happen now? And what we have done since is 10 credit rating upgrades in less than a decade. It has been nothing but a remarkable run.
What's behind it? Well, the mayor says when Detroiters approved proposal and it helped get rid of blighted houses that were bogging down property values. Unemployment has plunged from 20% to 8%, and income tax revenues are exceeding everyone's expectations.
What Ford is doing at the train station, what General Motors has done at Factory Zero, and the part suppliers, what Amazon has done, what Dan Gilbert and Chris Illich and Gary Torgo have done in improving office buildings and housing and moving people in, and what City Council has done in having the courage to approve every one of those projects, all of those things together made this possible.
And while other cities were using federal money from the American Rescue Plan to balance their budget, Detroit didn't need to, allocating the funds to address needs in the community. So here's what a higher credit...
Wait a minute. When other cities are using the funds that's allocated in order to balance their budget from the federal government, we didn't need to. And we used it to actually help and solve for what's going on into the community and pour it into the people. Novel concept. So you saying that we actually work with our city council members, that the city is actually growing, that we have a balanced budget, that we operating at a surplus, we're pouring all of the resources back into the community, into the people. Credit rating upgrades. Mike Illich, shout out to Mike Illich and Illich Companies. Shout out to Dan Gilbert and Quicken Loans and Google and Microsoft that is now have offices inside of Detroit. Shout out to Ford Motor Company that's rebuilt the train station. Shout out to all of the abandoned buildings that has been removed, demolished, or redeveloped. Shout out to all of the people that's moving back into the city and loves to pay their taxes. Shout out to all of the people that continues to do great things and the Riverwalk that has been ranked #1 in the entire country. Shout out to Detroit. Let me give my own city a round of applause. I myself moved back. So wait a minute. You're telling me when everybody has the best interest of the city and they work together, you actually can grow?
rating means.
Your taxes are going to be lower on
Taxes?
the debt that we've issued.
Wait a minute. Taxes is going to be lowered? Wait a minute. They're voting on increasing taxes in Houston, Chicago, California, New York, and Florida. All of the major cities are raising taxes in order to plug shortfalls and beg Biden and the federal government for them to be able to balance their budget. But we're actually decreasing how much it's going to cost you in taxes. Let's continue.
As well as the debt we'll issue in the future. So it's easier to go to the market and get things, voter approval or bond sales, which will cost you less money.
What are the next steps for you guys to make sure that you continue on this upward trajectory?
I think the next step is just to ensure that we remain fiscally responsible. There are going to be some tough decisions that need to be made, but we're paying, again, our bills on time. We have met our obligation with our retirees for our first pension payment of $150 million.
Whoa, wait a minute. We're meeting obligations, making sure people's pensions are funded. Let's continue.
But it means just stay the course.
In Detroit, Andres Gutierrez, CBS News, Detroit.
We don't get enough positive news out here in these streets, so I just wanted to make sure that I acknowledged and then showcased, because in the same way that I bring the city to the front of the congregation, such as the woman, the Detroit rapper teacher, or, you know, all of this other stuff, and I've documented way before I had a conversation about Chicago or New York or any of these other cities. I've documented and went through all of the blighted buildings that was in the city before I even created the Millionaire Morning Show, and nobody had nothing to say. Now that I'm actually reporting on the things that's happening positive within the city of the United States of America, for some reason people want me to be quiet. But all of those blighted buildings that I ran through has been torn down or redeveloped. Shout out to the city. Shout out to Mayor Mike Duggan. Shout out to all of the city council members. The Detroit police officers for keeping us safe. Shout out to everybody, all of the business leaders, all of the regional cooperation for working together in order to continue to grow the city. I myself moved back. I moved back into the city. Shout out to the city.